So we've heard from you guys that you want to hear some more stories from the consulting life. So, having been a consultant now for over 20 years, I've got a few of those. So I'm going to tell one of my craziest stories, or the craziest places I've been story. There was a project we worked on for Halliburton, and it was during the war. And what we were doing was we were implementing the technology system that was going to track the cash that was being paid to people in Iraq. And they literally would have these rooms full of millions and millions of dollars of cash. And that's how they paid people during the war to build things, build a wall, transport something somewhere. And so they needed technology systems to make sure that they were tracking the cash. I think at one point it was in the news that Halliburton couldn't account for a lot of this money. And so they really needed the technology to get this done. So I was part of the team that was implementing this technology in Iraq at the bases, at the Air Force bases and at the Army bases, and was training people how to use this. And so we went into Iraq. I went into Iraq during the war, into a war zone to do this work. And there's lots of memories. I'll try to give you a few of them. But one of them was you had to get trained in, chemical and biological preparedness, right? So you had this gas mask that you had to know how to get it on really fast. You had to be trained on how to do that. You had to be able to put on your bulletproof vest really fast and your full hazmat suit really fast. So that was a trip, kind of getting trained on how to get that done. We flew into, there was multiple times we went in and we would go through Dubai or we would go through Kuwait. And so you would fly into those locations. You would typically be there for a day or two or three. And so being in those locations was crazy. Dubai is an amazing place. If you've never been to Dubai, it's almost like Las Vegas times 1,000, right? There's lush green grass growing in the middle of the desert and, just the most opulent buildings you can imagine. And Kuwait was a little bit more chill, a little bit more of an authentic vibe. But then, of course, being in country in Iraq during the war was crazy, but to get into Iraq was a surprise. And what you did was you loaded up onto a 737 airplane, a big airplane, which I don't know why, but that surprised me. And it was full. And you fly from Dubai into Baghdad International Airport, BIOP, which is just like any other airport, right? Except when you're flying into BIOP, you have limited airspace to operate in. And so what they do is they corkscrew a 737. It's one thing to corkscrew down a smaller plane, but when you're on a 737 airplane and they turn that sucker and they really corkscrew it down, it is crazy. And what I remember is being on this airplane, my first time, there I am, my little consulting, got my laptop, all those sorts of things. And they say, we're coming into the airspace and everybody starts hooting and hollering, woo, here we go. And I didn't know what was going to happen. And all of a sudden I'm sitting next to the window and they turn the airplane and I'm looking down. I'm looking straight down out of my window at Baghdad International Airport. It was such a trip to just corkscrew down. And then we landed and it was like a normal airport. It wasn't very crowded. But then then it was weird to get, armored escorts to the Army base, right? So you get onto a bus and you you are escorted by multiple vehicles that are Humvees with mounted machine guns, and you're just cruising through Baghdad to get to the base. We would put our flak jackets on in the morning and run across an open area to get to work, helmet on, running with your laptop, total nerd. Like, it was surreal, right? So that was probably the most unique experience I've ever had. It was quite a life experience. I'll say that. I'm a big believer in travel, so especially if you're younger, I almost push our younger people to find these type of opportunities. So hopefully that was at a minimum an interesting story for you, and at a maximum maybe kind of inspired you to take a trip somewhere, whether it's for work or on personal. As always, let us know your feedback, what we can do to provide you entertainment or education, and we're always open to hearing your thoughts. So hopefully this helped.